that Jesus was like the Son of God and that he came to help us. And I believe that his purpose really was to show God how people really live and how their emotions are and what they think and what they go through, so he can have a better understanding of us as his creation.
I believe that he once was a real man. He lived on this earth just like every other human being around here, and that he did die on the cross and rose again, and that he will be coming back.
I believe that Jesus is the one and only Son of God, that he came to this earth to save us, that we can turn to him in order to be saved and ask for forgiveness. And we also, I believe that Jesus did die on the cross and that he did rise again.
That he died for us and that he's the true God.
Are you a Christian?
Yes, I am.
How do you practice Christianity?
I try to go to church as often as I can. That's like Sunday a week. And then I read my Bible most of the time.
Are you a Christian?
Yes.
How do you practice Christianity?
By reading God's Word and sharing with others.
Are you a Christian?
Yes, I am.
How do you practice Christianity?
I practice in many different ways. The most evident to people that would be watching me is I go to church. I also have a quiet time. I try to have a quiet time every day where I read my Bible, I pray, stuff like that.
Why do you think that there is a negative attitude towards Christians?
Because everyone says they're hypocrites, but it's different aspects. Like, because everyone could read the same verse, but different people get different things out of it. And like, the different branches of Christianity don't all be the same way.
So why do you think there is a negative attitude towards Christians?
One of the biggest reasons I think is people, no matter if you're a Christian or if you aren't a Christian or whatever, everybody has a temper of some kind, or they have their own issues. Everybody has their own issues. And people think of Christians sometimes as being perfect all the time, and that's not the case at all. Everybody is a person, everybody makes mistakes, and people that aren't Christians, I think, often think that Christians have to be perfect, and since they're not, they look at them as hypocrites. And I feel that's one of the biggest reasons that they feel that way.
Why do you think that there is a negative attitude towards Christians sometimes?
I think because a lot of people label themselves as Christians and they don't live a Christian life. And then like a lot of people hear about molestation and everything in the church, and like pastors having affairs with people in the church, and it's just not people behaving like Christians are supposed to.
How is it like being a Christian on a secular campus?
You have to put up with some things that you would prefer not to. I'm a DJ, and I've DJed some of the dances on campus. I've seen some things I wish I hadn't. But I mean, that's all part of being on a secular campus. And there are groups of, like, there's Bible studies across campus that you can connect with. So it does make it easier, and you can choose who to hang out with most of the time. So it's not awful.
So is it hard being a Christian on a secular campus?
Not really. I've always kind of been like a person who stayed out of trouble, so it's not particularly hard for me, because I've been that way for a while, so.
Being a Christian on a secular campus is sometimes really hard because, you know, we're the minority, it feels like sometimes. I know people say that they believe God and everything, but they don't, they just say it and not do it. So there are struggles. There's so many more temptations, I feel like, that can come up, and you see a lot of people acting the way they do because they are lost. And I think it's amazing to be a Christian on this campus because I can individually seek after God. I think that's been better for me.
The first time I knew God was talking to me, and then the apostle of my church said, "Oh, you know, God is talking to you right now." It's like, and then he wanted me to explain what I was hearing to the whole church. Sorry. It was just, I mean, I knew God talked to me before, but I never had it validated, so it was just a different experience for me. But yeah, so God really does talk to people.
Probably 5 or 6 years ago, I had an opportunity to go on a missions trip to Mexico. And the biggest thing, like the biggest part of it was kind of a culture shock for me. But then after you got over that, you could see how much, like, we take for granted that we have churches, I think. And it makes you just realize how lucky we are to have churches where we can meet, and that just because you don't have a church doesn't mean you can't have a church gathering in a living room somewhere. And when I came to college, I ended up in a smaller church than I had been before. And people asked me how I felt about that. And I think because of the fact that I'd been in Mexico and we were meeting in the living room and there's like 15 people there, it wasn't a big deal to me. And it's all in how you think about, if you think about what they're going through, and they can still